Now that we've made a copy of our proposed option that has the 4,000 HSA base plan paired with the $1,000 buy-up, we want to create an alternate scenario that introduces how employer funding the HSA impacts the employer and the employee. So just like premium share, funding of HRA or HSA is rolled into our discussion as it becomes part of the plan designs. Now to access funding, we're going to click on the blue link, and it's going to show us the available funding vehicles. So in this case, we have health savings account available, and that's because the plan was created as an HDHP. And we also have deductible HRA. Now we also have coinsurance HRA funding, but since there's no coinsurance on this plan, that's not an available option. So let's go ahead and click on the plus sign for health savings account. And it will now allow us to be able to enter an annual employer contribution to the HSA for each enrollment type. So let's go ahead and plug in the assumption of $500 going into single HSAs and $1,000 going into families. Now that we've created the HSA funding, we're going to come back to the plan design. So now we're able to take a look at how that HSA funding impacted our plan. There's really three places that we're going to see that. We're going to see that in the coverage diagram. So now we can see visually how much that HSA funding is relative to the deductible and max out of pocket. I can hover under the word HSA and be able to see that dollar amount. And while this is for employee only, I can always click on the other enrollment type to toggle the values in the coverage diagram to that enrollment type. So I'm going to go back to employee only. We've seen how that HSA funding surfaces in the dashboard in terms of the coverage diagram. In the next tutorial, we'll talk about how it surfaces in terms of how the employee is impacted by that HSA funding. And it's also now included in the cost of that plan design. Notice the plan design cost is actually a link. So if I click on that, now I can get a monthly and annual breakdown of the components that make up that employer cost. And here we're able to see the annual HSA contribution, which is being added to the premium share to get us to that total plan design cost. So now that we've added that HSA funding, the employer cost of $116,939 includes the cost of that HSA funding. And it also surfaces in the plan group cost as well. So if we go into combined enrollment, now we're able to see the cost impact of adding that HSA funding to the plan. And in our case, since we were working with a budget assumption, it's an easy decision to come into premium share, click solve to budget. So now that even though we have a funding vehicle incorporated, we're still able to redesign that contribution strategy so that the HSA plan with that funding is aligned to our budget target. And again, we're able to see what that cost impact is to the employee.